Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mainstream Indie Music channel. I do apologize for getting this video out a little late. It honestly is just my schedule. I had a lot of crazy things kind of pop up, some car problems that I had to take care of. Normally, we release videos on a Friday, and that's when my truck went down, and kind of just spent the rest of the day dealing with that, even bleeding into the weekend a little bit. And honestly, at that point, my schedule was kind of thrown so far off. So I do apologize for this video kind of coming out a little later. It is one that I've really cared about. And if you all remember the summer of, I think it was the summer of 2014, definitely this song comes to mind. Why You Gotta Be So Rude, right? It was everywhere. Everywhere. You know, major music stations were playing it. Even I remember I was living I believe I was back in my home state at the time, but I just remember there was even an indie radio station that played this song. And if I wasn't in my home state, it was in New York. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is indie music stations were still playing this song. And I think it's because at the time, they didn't realize how big the song was going to get. You know, it's almost like we made a video on this channel about the song Riptide by Vance Joy. And it's kind of the same principle, where they make this like extremely catchy song that's a little different. It doesn't kind of follow the same rules of what was happening in the music scene around them. And all of a sudden, because of that reason, it just blows up everywhere. So Rude by Magic was absolutely massive, like I said. Magic had a few small releases before, this song especially, but then they released their album Don't Kill the Magic. And honestly, the reason why I even made this video was because I stumbled upon the album, and I remembered listening to the entire album one time through, and actually thought to myself, you know what, this album is pretty good. You know, I'm not going to rate it extremely high, but I remember thinking, it's got a few good hits to this album. If you kind of don't even listen to Rude, if you listen to other songs on the album as well. It does have songs like Don't Kill the Magic, the title track. It has a song, Let Your Hair Down, No Way No, One Woman, One Man. There's a lot of songs on this album that are pretty good. Now, before I kind of dive deep into this album, and then we're actually going to also talk about what Magic has kind of been up to since that album's release, because, that's a long time that passed, right, in between that happening. One thing I wanted to comment on is I know a lot of fans of the reggae genre don't like Magic, and it's not an extreme hate, if anything. I think it's kind of an annoyance, because it's one of those things where Magic is kind of crazy because they are from Canada. They came from way of Canada and kind of essentially became a reggae group. And so fans of reggae and kind of the culture around it and so on and so forth, I kind of get it, I do believe I don't think these artists of the band Magic, I don't think they meant to maliciously take the genre and steal from it, but I do think they took a lot of liberties from this genre. But on the flip side, it's kind of the same old conversation of, well, does that just mean, people who aren't from a certain place in the world or who kind of live and breathe from a certain genre of music, does that just mean they just can't make music at all, or that style of music at all? No. I think there are plenty of bands that have been genre defining, even twisting the genre to support their own culture. And I always think, more power to them. It's funny too, because a lot of the members of Magic also claim that it was half of reggae, but it was also the style of the Police that they were shooting for as well, which honestly, I can hear from time to time. I could be like, you know what, I could see that. But At the same time, I wanted to put that disclaimer out there. If you are a fan of reggae, I totally get it if you are not a big fan of these guys. Now, when Magic started as a group, what's interesting is their lead singer and songwriter, Nasri, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, he is part of a songwriting duo already who wrote a lot of pop songs, especially in the 2010s. Think of people, he wouldn't write the songs outright, he was more of like the group of people that was kind of putting like song compositions together. But think of people a la Pitbull, Justin Bieber, a lot of those 2010s artists, he was a part of a group that was writing music for them. That was on top of starting to form Magic as a band. So you imagine this is a guy with a lot of experience under his belt. He decides to form a band, and they come out with Rude as their lead single. What's pretty interesting, when I was doing research into Magic as a group, is I stumbled upon a Rolling Stones article way back in 2014, where he fully admits that he is not a fan of the song Rude. He believes that that album, Don't Kill the Magic, has so much more going for it, and sadly, he became, in his own words, he described himself as a dancing monkey, which is funny because on their next album, he released a song literally called that, where he kind of called out that feeling of doing the same thing over and over and over again. So them as a group were getting tired of just playing Rude all the time. Now, do they seem like egregiously angry at the song? No. I wouldn't say they hit the levels of like Radiohead in their song, in their viewpoint of their own song. But one last thing, what has Magic been doing ever since? Well, they release music and albums pretty much every 2 to 3 years after their debut album came out. They did have a hiatus, however, from pretty much during COVID, from 2020 to 2022. They stopped making music and stopped touring as a band, and their original drummer, has since left. But their last new music that they put out was only in 2024. So they are still making music as a group, even individually, as individual members of the group. They are big on collaborations, so they a lot of times are even working on music with other artists, and it seems like they're not quitting anytime soon. What do you guys think of Magic? Let me know in the comments.